So, the last time we hear from Cedella, she was declaring and decreeing that Norval cannot take Bob to the city so that his brother can adopt him forever. Okay? And so we're like, go Cedella, because what's going on with Norval? What would prompt such a thing? You also saw the extensive research that indicated to us that Norval's brother Robert had died. And so now that we are there, let's see what happens. Nestor continued to grow and develop as a happy country child, loved by his family and friends and admired by his teachers. He was going on 6 years old and progressing very well in his daily lessons under teacher Isaacs when Captain came to me. Why, Captain, you're persistent? And said he was arranging at his expense for Nestor to attend boarding school in Kingston. Remember already, she said over her dead body, knowing come back again. He was 4 then, now he's 6. Nestor's teachers were dead set against the idea from the start. Mrs. Marley, because she married, for those who say she never had papers, she had papers. Teacher Isaacs warned me one day in the village street, I think it's a bad idea for Nestor to leave the school here and go to Kingston. So, Professor Isaacs warned the teaching that children get in the country is better than in Kingston and more progressive. I wish you would reconsider. I said that I appreciated her concern. Oh, sorry, Ush. Miss Teacher Isaacs is a woman. Never gonna read that again. Teacher Isaacs is a woman. Mrs. Marley, I think it is a very bad idea for Nestor to leave the school here and go to Kingston. The teaching that children get in the country is better than in Kingston and more progressive. I wish you would reconsider. I said that I appreciated her concern, but I had to respect the wishes of his father. How come? Before you said over your dead body, how come now you're respecting the wishes of the father? What happened? It says here, she says, she was glum during the conversation and muttered that Kingston's influence would spoil all the good Nestor had gotten from his country schooling. So over the objections of his teacher, she get one in. I packed Nestor's bags. His father came to get him. Oh, one of them few time when Norval find him way back a country. And one afternoon, the two of them departed for Kingston. Months went past. Months and months. During that time, I heard nothing from Nestor or about Nestor. I wrote Captain letter after letter for news about our son, and got no answer. She had beat herself now. Day and night passed with no word, and I was beginning to fret. Months and months. Captain come riding. Clean said my take picnic guy school and disappeared. Finally, I posted a strong letter that means I should get saucy on him to Captain, declaring my intention to travel to Kingston and see Nestor no matter what. So I kind of go, Dear Norval, Captain, from when me I write you, and I know you not answer me. You see if me in a year fry your post ears, me, I come to Kingston to find out who shot me picnic there. Sign, Miss Marley. That was my abbreviation of the letter, but let's continue. It says here, Captain quickly wrote me back. Oh, in catching afraid, right? She serious. To say that Nestor was in boarding school in the parish of St. Thomas, not in Kingston. So you took him, okay. You said, okay. Let me go back and read where same did I go take him. For Nestor to attend boarding school in Kingston. So how is it that you said you wanted him to go to boarding first? She don't know Captain by now. Before him said, come down and me hot. Me feel feverish. And next thing you know, you catch belly. So you know that if he don't catch quack, he gonna catch his shot. He gonna go everywhere he can to get what he wants. So first he claims that it was gonna be his brother. We know better now, to hindsight is 2020. Then he said he's going to go to boarding school in Kingston. And when months pass and she don't hear from him, now all on a sudden, like my granny used to say, he's not here. He's in St. Thomas. Okay. And that he was being taught by a good teacher and progressing well in his lessons. Something inside of me tell me if you not trust Norval, just a tiny inclination. I was glad to hear the news, but still worried and puzzled about why I had heard nothing from Nestor or his teacher. You know, yours didn't tell you when you take him, he's like yours no more. I mean, I understand. Where exactly was Nestor? These are the questions that we should have been asking. Mhm. He wrote a child's scrawl, but he could still write to his mother. Why hadn't he written? What had happened to my son? Months passed with no answer. Whew, that's a lot. However, Jah moves through life in mysterious ways, like a natural mystic blowing, just mysterious, you know? One evening, Maggie Simpson, a higgler from our district who used to travel all over the island buying and selling goods, dropped into my shop with the news that she had just seen Nestor on a Kingston street. Imagine the heart of a mother who don't know what happened to her son. And you could have beat yourself because you say you wasn't going to do it, then you did it. And Captain was being Norval once again. And you have no clue where he is. And somebody come and tell you, I saw your son. It says here, what? I exclaimed, nearly falling off my shopkeeper's stool with shock. Yes, I saw Nestor, Auntie Siddy. She said using my nickname, where? She explained that as she traveled somewhere off Kingston, she explained that as she was traveling somewhere off Spanish Town Road, she heard someone calling, Miss Maggie, Miss Maggie. And when she turned around, Nestor was standing in the street, grinning at her. Miss Maggie, and me, Nestor. What you say? I cried. Oh, he look good, she assured me. Me telling you the truth, him look good. Him look fat and he have on clean clothes. I can't what you're thinking. Oh, he fat, nice and round man and he clothes clean. She added that Nestor said that he was on the way to the market to buy charcoal for one Miss Gray and that he had sent a message for me. What message? I asked eagerly. Him say, tell me mother to come look for me. Poor thing, poor thing. You see why I have attachment issues that we see later on in life? Your mother sends you with this man who's your father. That means you had a whole ride to Kingston. Last time we heard it was 75 miles from 9 Mile to Kingston. You had a whole trip with him. What did you talk about? Did you talk about anything? Did you know who he was? Right? And now you're with this Miss Gray character. And all these months that are passing, she's looking for him. But in the mind of a little boy, where is his mother? Right? And that is at that age, that tender age, the attachment style is still forming, and he's very impressionable, right? So it says, look for him. Look for him where? Him say in live on Haywood Street. Y'all know I tried to look up Miss Gray on Haywood Street. The jury is still out on that. There is a Haywood Street, but the Miss Gray part, touch and go. But anywho, what part of Haywood Street? Auntie City, me telling you the God truth, me no remember. But he say him definitely live on Haywood Street. At least him bright enough to know where he live. Okay? My brain was in a swirl. How could Nestor be living on Haywood Street in Kingston when he was supposed to be on at boarding school in St. Thomas? Surprise, surprise! Nestor is not Nestor. Norval is a liar. That's how. Norval don't tell the truth for nothing. What you mean? Anyway, let's continue. Who was this Miss Gray, and who sent my son to buy charcoal? Poor Maggie Simpson. Maggie, I said, listen, let me tell you all what I know, and I don't know no more. I doesn't know. I'm sorry, Miss City. This is all I know. Anyway, Maggie Simpson told me that her cousin Marley had been with her when Nestor had come running up to them, and perhaps she would remember where on Haywood Street he said he lived. As soon as Maggie left my shop, I wrote a letter to Marley and walked it over to the post office so that I would go out that afternoon so that it would go out that afternoon on the mail bus. A few days later, Marley wrote back and said she couldn't recollect the address. Nestor had given them, but that Haywood Street was a short street. And if I traveled to Kingston, she would meet me and we could walk it together and inquire after him. Marley Nicey. I mean, it's a good thing that she heard this thing to the grapevine all the way in country. She get word say our son is alive and well somewhere upon Haywood Street. Let's take a break. I'll be right back. Support the thing, like, subscribe, share, and check out this commercial for our latest book, Island Twist. Real quick, this is Amuna, author and storyteller, and I have a new release available on Amazon because I love writing and reading stories. This is a Caribbean American tale about love and culture. We have a young girl named Jackie, and she gets into it with a lot of frenemies and some other people that's trying to take away our rights. So go ahead and check out Island Twist, available on Amazon today. Now let's get back to the story. So Cedella said, I quickly wrote her back telling her when I would be arriving, and a few days later I got on the bus for Kingston and set out in search of Nestor. I reached Kingston late in the afternoon, just as the shops were shuttering up for the night. Met Marley and we started walking up and down Haywood Street, asking bystanders and market people if they had seen a little boy named Nestor Marley running around the neighborhood. Eventually we came across a man sitting on the corner of the sidewalk, and after saying good evening and describing Nestor, we asked if he had seen him. You mean young Marley? He asked, glancing behind him. He was here just a while ago. Just then I heard the noise of children playing nearby, and I went to look and spotted Nestor romping among them on the street corner. Nestor! I cried. He jerked up and looked around quickly. Mama! He squealed, shooting out from among his playmates and darting across the street to throw his arms around my waist. What away, you fatty! He cried with delight, giving me a squeezing hug. Really, Nestor, you're such a little Jamaican boy. The minute you see your mother, you say, what away, you fatty? I can't right now. We stood in the middle of the street, kissing and hugging in front of all the gawking bystanders and passers-by. Then he took me to the woman at whose house he had been living, leading me through the back lanes and winding footpaths of the neighborhood to the bungalow where we found Miss Gray, sitting on her small veranda, trying to cool off in the shadows of the late afternoon. Miss Gray, what? Miss Gray at the boarding school? What Norval day? Norval, we can't. Miss Gray turned out to be an old woman who was almost completely bald and whose trembling hands were shriveling and cracked with an unhealthy dryness. I introduced myself to her, wondering what she was doing with my son, who was supposed to be at boarding school in St. Thomas. And she explained to me in a quavering voice that she was sick with diabetes and could hardly walk, and that Captain had brought Nestor and left him to take care of her. I go and pause and make that one sink in. Captain, boy. Norval. It says here, here she goes. She said in a quaking voice, I wondered why you never come to look for your son. And I wonder why Captain never come back to see the boy after leaving him with me. But I was glad for the help. Without Nestor, I couldn't even get food from the market, for I just can't get around anymore. So, not only did you lie to his mother, basically abducted the son, dropped him off, abandon him at Mrs. Gray house, never to return something. Anyway, she added that she had no family left in the world and had never had any children of her own, and that if Nestor could only stay and look after her upon her passing, she would gladly will him all her worldly goods. I'm sorry, Miss Gray, I said firmly. So let me say that firmly now. I'm sorry, Miss Gray, I said firmly, but gently, for my heart went out to this abandoned old woman. But Nestor is coming home with me to the country this very evening. Nestor, I told him, go and collect your belongings. Would you have let him stay with Miss Gray? Or would you have done exactly what Cedella did? Pack it up, buddy. We're out. I mean, it's a tough situation. But what in the world? You know what, Captain? I'm calling you Captain because you listen, Norval Sinclair, you're doing too much. With a lively scampering, Nestor disappeared into the small little house to pack. I let him go to school. Oh, back to Miss Gray again. I let him go to school, Miss Gray mumbled lamely, but I don't have nobody else. He is all of life to me. He is my joy to hold and to have, ma'am. Oh, no, sorry, back to Cedella. He's my joy to hold and to have, ma'am, I said, trying to stay calm. His father told me he was in St. Thomas at boarding school. I thank you for the time you kept him here, for he is looking very nice and fat, and it shows you were caring for him. Nestor came out of the house with a small grip, crammed full of his clothes, and we said goodbye to Miss Gray, who shrank down in her chair like she had just gotten beaten. I don't know what's going to happen to me now. Why me keep on a mess up Miss Gray part? Sorry about that. I don't know what's going to happen to me now, she whispered as we left her alone in the gathering shadows of her tiny veranda. That evening, we went to my brother Solomon's house in Jonestown, where we spent the night. Quite late, you know, 'cause I didn't get the last bus. I asked Solomon to recommend a barber and took Nestor to the shop for a haircut. Then Nestor and I walked down to Parade in Kingston, where I bought him a new brown suit from a street vendor. Delighted at being reunited with his family, Nestor kept calling my brother Uncle Salah, like he was overjoyed just to be able to call someone uncle. He ran up and down, squealing with innocent happiness, romped with his three boy cousins in the yard like a little dog who was seeing his mistress again after a long absence. That was an interesting narrative, but okay. That night, when Nestor was asleep, I went and stood over his bed and marveled to myself, what a handsome little boy this. For in the dimness of the room, he was a beautiful child who was filled my heart with pride. The next day, we returned to 9 Miles, and I re-enrolled Nestor in the Stepney School. As she had predicted, Teacher Isaac said that Nestor had come back not as bright as he had been when he had left, which she said was due to the poorer schooling of Kingston. I just bit my tongue and didn't tell her what really happened. After his return home, Nestor lost weight and began to look drawn and thin. You see, oh, Miss Gray did a fatten up Nestor. Fatten up Nestor, no, Imamagadong again. Teacher Isaacs noticed the change in him and suggested I buy goat's milk from Teacher James, who kept a herd of goats in the mountains, and give it to Nestor to drink every day, which I did, and the milk soon restored him to his natural, healthy look. As for my so-called husband, I finally arrived to so-called. I immediately wrote him a letter telling him that I had found out about all of his lies. They tell you, no? And liberated Nestor from Mrs. Gray's clutches. Not the liberated Nestor. You know, she says she liberated Nestor. Many years later, I learned that after taking Nestor from 9 Miles, Captain had stopped off at a nearby district of Sterling, where he'd spent a week with some white friends, and where Nestor, along with a playmate he'd met there, was photographed on the knee of a woman. See first picture section. So it's in the book, but the picture them kind of grainy. Captain never answered the letter that I wrote blasting him for allowing our son to be used by some strange old lady as her errand boy, and I never found out what his connection was to poor Miss Sick Gray. Norval. Stay tuned because Norval's not done yet. He is a character in this book. Stay tuned to see what else Cedella finds out about Norval's lies.